have something extra special planned.
Uh-oh. Do you want to call us worth tonight?
No.
No!
If we could have just waited like one more day next week, I could have been a beautiful blonde.
Oh,
Did you just do your hair?
Yeah,
she always does her hair, Mason.
last week, but we had to do it on a Monday last week, and I got my hair done like on a Wednesday.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Track Packers podcast for episode number 35 of season 2. It's been a few weeks since we've been on camera, but we're here to kind of break things down. What have we been up to over the last few weeks and what's all been going on in the racing world? Myself, Mason, along with John Bracco, Miss Becca Pelkey, and Mr. Collinsworth, the original Collinsworth Jessup Pelkey. Hope everyone is doing all right. We have Thanksgiving coming up, and it's been kind of a weird stretch of a few weeks, but hopefully we get everyone caught up to speed here. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Hitch Harness and Tyler Hall out of Fertile, Minnesota. This is a very, very good time of year to check out his website, hitchharness.com. They have so many different products, and looking for Christmas gifts or ideas for anyone that has receiver hitches. It's a safe and secure way to store them in the back of the truck. There's all sorts of different products on there, stuff for the racers. You can get some swag. Check out the website, hitchharness.com. We want to thank Tyler Hall so much for supporting us on the podcast this season. So the lineup for this weekend, before I actually messed up on the first iteration of this, was Jessup on the pole, followed by myself, then John and Becca, but I am already to the back of the pack. And so, Jessup, how are you doing, sir?
I want to go to our head tech official person, John. Now, will this count as one of Mason's cautions for this? Yes, I mean, because does he get another one?
No. So this already counts as one of his cautions. So if he gets another caution, it's black flag time already.
Yep.
Jumping the gun, like false start on the restart.
Yeah, he already got called for jumping.
Yeah, it was a rough start. But someone's got to take the first caution. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a fun couple of weeks because I've been busy in bowling land. So it's been a great time on there too. But I'm ready for Thanksgiving and to celebrate what we're all thankful for here in just a few days.
Excellent. And you've had a good stretch of bowling to start the tournament season. So congratulations on winning this latest tournament over in Carrington.
Thank you.
That riser.
Yes, the high riser is up at the top of the competition once again. Miss
He's
Becca.
looking down on all the other peasants.
It's one way to put it. Miss Becca, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm enjoying this little off season that we have right now, and gearing up for the holidays and getting ready for everything that brings. And yeah, just enjoying life and hanging out with a different crowd that I typically don't get to see during the racing season. So just having a good old time.
Yeah, definitely a different time of year. We get to see all sorts of different people from the usual shenanigans of the summer. I know you've been traveling quite a bit. We'll kind of get into that in just a little bit. I've been kind of traveling myself for work and for actually various other racing activities. And so hasn't really slowed down since the racing season has ended for me. And so.
Well, welcome back, race fans, for another exciting episode of the Track Packer podcast. I am your current new host because my camera is not working. Or it is working, but our internet's not working. And Mason's trying to make us not do this entrance again and have me be all leggy. So everybody wave your flag. Anyways, let's get back on track here. Welcome, race fans. and loyal listeners. I am not your host, but I'm kicking us off tonight. I am Jesus Yelclep, aka Jessup Pelkey, of the Controversially Non-Controversial podcast, and just a fellow participant of the Track Packer podcast, which we are doing tonight. And I said that just to get Becca riled up. Mason,
It was pretty great to watch
take
the
it from
reaction.
here.
Boy, I'm trying to make life easier for Jessup, who has an early morning because he has to work early and has a bit of a drive. So I'm trying to make the show move, and he's just prolonging this. Almost caution worthy,
don't-
but I won't give him a
Don't
caution.
hit any deer either. Just a heads up on for you on that one.
Yeah, we've had
I mean,
enough
you get
incidents
venison.
with deer. I'll say, did you at least get to keep the venison from the deer you hit, John?
Oh, well, I think the deer was like in a 15 million pieces.
No, that was your van.
Oh, and that too.
Now, race fans, what you don't know is after the high riser John Breckel has a big win at Carrington for his bowling tournament. So kudos to John. You are my winner of the week. But John was viciously attacked and he was singled out by this murderous deer. It was rabid and it wanted to attack him and former racer James Lawson. And you know, we're going to send our best wishes out to James Lawson's van. It's not looking good.
It's not doing well.
Insurance might put her down. And if
I think
that
so.
happens, you know, RIP James Lawson's van. But we're happy that the high riser is okay. And hopefully everybody else in the van is okay. The deer is not. Thankfully, it has been imploded into millions of pieces.
Now, I'm not well versed in hunting. Is it still hunting season in North Dakota?
That's
You can hunt something.
pretty much at any time of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it goes with the hunting season, but unfortunate circumstances for John and his friends from the bowling tournament. But glad to see you're all okay, and hopefully everything sorts out well with that van mishap. With that, we will drop the green flag and get right into who or what are you repping. We'll go with Miss Becca Pelkey. Who or what are you repping?
I'm on the poll.
This is in no particular order that we do who or what are we repping. So Becca, go ahead.
This week I am repping Zach Madrid, originally out of Arizona. He is freshly relocated to Iowa, so hopefully I see him racing more often, and hopefully in our neck of the woods. We'll see what happens with the future, but this is a very nice and warm and cozy Zach Madrid hoodie that I picked up on the Dakota Classic Modified Tour. So yeah, it's been
Nice
a little
beanie
windy
season
day in
back
North
then.
Dakota.
It was beanie
it's
season
been a-
back in July.
It was.
Yes, and right
was
now
only
it's currently
95.
very gusty and cool and cold outside. So, and sometimes rainy. And so I figured today would be a good day for a hoodie. And it's also kind of chilly in the house. So there's that.
You know, it's not surprising that it's been raining all day pretty much in Fargo because I'm here.
He just brings the wetness with him.
Although it
Hashtag-
didn't rain. It might have rained one night when I was in Phoenix this last week, but otherwise it was pretty dry. As usual.
Hashtag Mason.
Hashtag-
Mason. Hashtag Mason moisture.
Oh, Moist Mason.
Yes. Yes.
That could be Mason's shirt for the year. Moist Mason.
That would be
The
that would be a
Rainmaker.
great shirt
The
for him to wear
bringer
to
of
each and
rain.
every one of the races that he
You
goes
should
to.
get that
No.
trending for next year.
Moist
Oh, we're
Mason.
going
The
to.
bringers of rain. Bringer of moisture. The moisture. Oh, the moisture maker.
What's even nice about this whole thing is that Becca, you and Jessup and myself, we're all kind of admins on back pages. We could actually start this as a movement.
We could. Oh, you could. The moist maker.
This is going to be really
Mason-
bad for me.
We'll just put
And-
minions.
Oh, and then on the back, we could have like the 2024 tour, and we can just put all the tour
the
races
rainouts,
that he's
rain
going
out.
to.
So,
And then we can have
Mason,
little check
Or
boxes.
what are you repping?
So, quick question before we get back on track, and this is all going to be outtakes.
What? No.
Do
No,
I
you
get
can't say.
compensated if the race gets rained out? Like, do I get like commission on it on each rain out then?
Well, of
No.
course. You gotta get paid by the drivers.
No. No.
Oh.
This is not the way it works. You only get commission on shirts sold. And then Jessup and I get 50% royalties on every single purchase.
I like this. Becca, you're cut out.
Find a graphic designer then.
Oh, this is true. I forgot Becca's a graphic designer. So this means that
Okay,
we'll have
find your back end,
75%
Becca.
royalties. Yep. 75% royalties then. So and then after taxes and everything else, Mason gets the leftovers.
Neat.
Anyways,
So Mason, what are you repping?
well, I was gonna say, nice shirt, Becca. Awesome to rep Zach Madrid, who has been a perennial top runner in the Dakota Classic Modified Tour in both the IMCA Modified and the stock car. Do you think is he going to be racing in both those cars next year now that he's moved to Iowa as well?
We'll have to wait and see.
So I know he and Kenzie are have made that official moves to Iowa, so it'll be awesome to see where they end up racing throughout the 2024 season. So awesome shirt, Becca. We'll go to Jessup. What are you repping?
I am representing and rocking another irrelevant shirt as we go back into time of irrelevance. It is the second annual Rumble in the Rockies at Montana Raceway Park. Apparently, it's sponsored by Toyota, and I think it's at 2011.
Nice. And if I remember
Ta-da!
correctly, it's in Kalispell, I think.
Sure, why not?
We're just
Cool.
gonna go with it.
We're just gonna go with it.
We're gonna
Awesome,
go.
irrelevant
We're
shirt.
we're doing it live. Yeah.
We do this live every single episode, and it's a shock that we get through the episodes somewhat cleanly. John Breckel, what are you repping?
I went different route. So we're not in dirt track race season right now just because we're in the winter months. And we
Please
just
tell
finished.
me you're wearing a bowling shirt.
I'm not. And then we went through but it's very similar to one of my bowling shirts that we went through and just finished NASCAR racing season. So you know what? I was like, usually NASCAR has reruns. I mean, here on the holidays. So I wouldn't be surprised on Christmas if we see some 500 races or some of the races before that. So what am I repping? I am repping one of the graphical designed shirts that comes across from the NASCAR scene. This is a Mark Martin car that is from the 2000. What season do you guys think this is from?
I know.
Go ahead, Mason. I'll let you answer it.
2010.
Yes. Yep, the 2010 season when Mark was first sponsored by GoDaddy.com.
Yo,
And
Daddy!
it's got basically the whole entire shirt is a graphic, including the back of the shirt and the front of the shirt.
Those were good
So-
days.
So that's the route I've went. I've went with Mark Martin, who is one of the best drivers in NASCAR that has never won a championship within the NASCAR series. And I'm repping his shirt here this evening.
Would you
Oh.
say he's second best to have never won?
No, he's definitely the best because the biggest crybaby in the NASCAR world and whiner and idiot out there, and the biggest probably, scam artist in the whole entire NASCAR scene who just, basically goes through and does everything to everybody else. But if somebody even touches him, he cries wolf. Denny Hamlin, that is.
Wow, tell us how you really feel, John.
Wow.
Well, Mark Martin was my favorite driver growing up. I think, was he your favorite driver, John, or did you kind of put Rusty
No,
Wallace
I
above
was a
him?
Rusty Wallace fan. And then when Rusty retired, I went to Mark.
Yeah, Mark in his 3 or 4 retirements because he couldn't totally make up his mind at.
Well, yeah, he was supposed to retire in 2005. Didn't happen. Then ran a whole other season for Roush in 2006, which actually had a very nice season in 2006.
Mhm.
And then went through and ran the Army car in 2007, 2008, before getting the Hendrick ride in 2009 and being a runner-up in the championship to Jimmy Johnson that year in the chase. And then running another 2 seasons after that for Hendrick in 2010, 2011. And then he also did a stint as a backup driver to Tony Stewart when it
Whoa.
was when he was injured for
That
for
broken
basically
leg.
yes for the last just couple of races of the year when he was out on the injury list.
Yeah, kind of quietly went off into the sun,
Yes.
which honestly, not a bad way to kind of end the racing career, but it's kind of cool to see him out and about and doing all his appearances wherever. I kind of follow him on Twitter, so it's fun to see what he's up to these days. Awesome. Well, that's a cool looking shirt, especially for me. I know Becca's not the biggest fan of Mark Martin because she likes Jeff Gordon, which who knows why, but that's another story. Anyways,
And I just love how
Jeff
Mark,
Gordon.
that first year when he was at Hendrick, he won all those races and just put Jeff Gordon's name to shame.
yeah, Jeff Gordon was kind of a non-factor that year.
He was very much a non-factor that year.
Story of Gordon's life, non-factor.
Mason, what
Ever
are you
since,
repping?
hey, Becca, ever since NASCAR went to a real playoff system and not just some season-long consistency deal, Jeff Gordon was a non-factor. Hendrick had to get a real driver, Jimmy Johnson, to show him how it's done.
Just gonna say, as soon as Jimmy hit the scene, Gordon was just a non-factor.
Yep, non-factor.
Which you can't really argue that because his last championship was in 2001. Jimmy's rookie season was 2002. And did Jeff Gordon, what did he do in that span of time when Jimmy Johnson entered?
He did just fine, Mason. Just fine.
Just
speaking of
fine.
Jimmy Johnson. What
Just
is the
fine.
most
Not great, just fine.
What is the most memorable Jimmy Johnson moment that you can think of off the top of your head since he's so great? I've got one. Rookie season, he launched his car, I think it was at Watkins Glen.
In the Busch series is the good
In the Busch series.
Yeah, so that's his only memorable moment that I have of him.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
I'm just kidding, everyone. Gosh, you guys take it so serial. Mason, what are you wearing?
so I just have a simple shirt today. I am repping Nelson Motorsports, which is Jeff Nelson, number 33. He raced an IMCA modified for the last couple of years. He's kind of got a WISSOTA mod too now, so he's kind of dabbling in that. And who knows what his plans are for the 2024 season? I don't know if he's going to focus on IMCA mod racing or WISSOTA mod racing. He's kind of in that area in Perham, Minnesota, where he can kind of go one direction or the other. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But it's been nice to get to know Jeff over the last couple of years and see him race from time to time. He's been over to Jamestown, I believe the last few years for the Gumpke Racers Memorial for sure. So he likes to travel a little bit. So hopefully we get to see him travel heading on into 2024 as well. So repping Nelson Motorsports. I can't remember what year this is. I think it's like 3 or 4 years old. But anyways, that is who or what we were repping for episode 35 of season 2. Get into our track packer report because we've been kind of like helter-skelter for the most part. The Pelkeys got to take in the NASCAR finale. Tell us about your experience down in Phoenix.
It sucked.
I had a great time.
I did not.
Yeah, Jessup kind of had a little bit of a illness, I think, too.
Yeah, a little bit of heat stroke and food
Well,
poisoning
yeah,
and
heat
more heat
exhaustion.
stroke
Heat stroke
and more heat stroke. So
Heat
What do you
well,
exhaustion.
you were on that's doorstep, I heard.
Oh, I was close. It was not
Yep.
good.
More like the toilet. Not the
Yeah,
doorstep.
I
the
got-
toilet.
I found the most comfortable
So he was on his
toilet
throne.
at Phoenix Raceway.
Awesome. Did you try out that
So-
floating restaurant?
No,
No.
I didn't want to poop on the fence.
So disappointed.
Yeah, so we got to the airport Friday night. There were quite a few race car drivers at the airport as well. We saw the Martin brothers there, and the Madler boys were there as well, or just some of the few that we saw on the plane on the plane ride down. It was a very late plane ride down, which made for a very cranky and tired Jessup, and he was a joy to be with at
I
basically
was not
2
as bad as you were in Colorado. Do not even start this. The fact
Okay,
that
so
we
we get
were over 40 minutes away from our hotel at approximately 2 in the morning in our time, did not leave exactly the most enthusiastic Uber ride. I didn't even get to drive. I had to sit there in my silence and be like, this is nice. Do you see those dark buildings to the right? This is nice. Look, more dark buildings to our left. This is nice.
Next time I'll let you
Let's be
pick
a
out the
travel
hotel.
agent.
Anyways, we decided to go golfing and taking in the very nice, warm, beautiful Arizona weather. And I had a great time golfing, and Jessup got a tad bit of heat exhaustion, which left
I
him
have never played 18
not feeling
holes
the
of
greatest.
golf in 6 hours. It was horrible. I've never played in slower golf conditions. I literally wanted to drive our cart up there and be like, we'll play through. Just stand off to the side. It's a par 3 course. You should not hit a 12 on a par 3 course.
Flashback, I expected you to be better at golf.
No,
It wasn't my
was
fault.
good.
It was the people ahead of us. Yes, we golfed 18 holes. It took a really long time. I wish we would have decided just to play the 9 and take the loss in our money, but whatever. We played 18 holes and then went to the fancy NASCAR resort because Jessup won us tickets at the Daytona 500 back in February, which is why we went to Phoenix for the championship race. And part of winning the tickets, we got a free place to stay and free transportation to the races on Sunday. So after the round of golf, we went to the very nice resort that NASCAR put us up in, basically a timeshare. And it was a really nice place. Unfortunately, we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time there because as soon as we got to the resort, we had to drive back into town and go hang out with one of Jessup's high school buddies, which it was really good to see him again. He was one of our groomsmen in our wedding. And Jessup and our friend are also friends with one of the engineers from Hendrick Motorsports. So it was really cool to chalk a little NASCAR with those guys, and they were very gracious hosts and fed us dinner. Unfortunately, whatever Jessup had that night did not settle well with his stomach. I had a wonderful hamburger and chips, and Jessup not so much with the brats and the fancy pasta dips and the dessert that they had and all the other fun things that they were very nice to make for all of us. And
Becca says, I had a hamburger and chips.
I'm not
I
surprised
had a
by that, to
hamburger
be
and
honest.
We literally ate the same thing besides me having a scoop of their pasta salad and a brat.
Knowing Becca, I can totally see her eating just a straight up hamburger with nothing on it.
No.
that's what I had.
She had ketchup.
So anyways, they were very nice after we hung out for many hours and talked a lot of NASCAR and then caught up on life. They were very nice to take us back to the resort because at this point in our trip, we were like, maybe we should have got a rental car versus Ubering everywhere because it was starting to get to be quite expensive.
Driving, it quickly adds up. So my friends, one of my groomsmen from our wedding and his wife were polite enough to drive us back, and they dropped us off. And approximately 3 hours later, I had woken up. I woke up and I knew the world was not all right. And I proceeded to spend a good chunk of the rest of the night on the bathroom or in the bathroom. And then the next morning, Becca's sitting there. We don't have to go. We can stay here. And I'm like, we are going. This is Kevin Harvick's last race. I will tough it out. And I toughed it out.
So we hop on the shuttle bus. We left the resort at 9 a.m., which I thought was kind of late to leave for a NASCAR race, but whatever, free ride, right? And we, shocker, got stuck in stop and go traffic, which did not help the matters that were brewing in Jessup's butt. And he was quite irritated.
Stomach.
Or stomach, yes, that too. Because the first thing we did when we got off the bus an hour and a half later, because they promised us it only took 45 minutes to get to the resort, to the track, but we left at 9 a.m., we were stuck in race traffic, so it took an hour and a half to actually get to the track. The first thing he did was go use and destroy a very nice Phoenix Raceway facilities. And then they fed us along breakfast, and then served us free beverages, which I indulged in. And then we went into the infield, and we got to see the DJ Diplo. He played some great music. Woo! Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was a good
Ran
way to
into
interact.
more of our ran into more of our friends from back home. So that was fun to see them before the races, as Jessup was dying from the heat and the sunshine.
I want you to know, John, I booed the people I needed to boo. Just for you.
I'm proud of you.
The funniest thing
We did.
The funniest thing I saw there, when we found like the very entrance of where the drivers walked up on the stage. It's like some long podium paddock thing. Catwalk that they go all the way down. It's like at least a football field long, and they got people lining up on both sides. And this individual, probably mid-teens individual, comes running up and pushes me all the way to get to the front to get Kyle Busch to sign something, as he's putting this thing up in front of Kyle, and I'm sitting there looking at him, and I'm like, dude, he's not going to sign that. Oh, he's going to sign it? I'm like, no, he is not. Because if he signs that, he's going to have to sign every single thing that gets thrusted at him. So sure enough, Kyle walks by. Kyle looks down. He says, I can't sign that. I got to keep walking. So he keeps walking. And I'm like, okay, the logical. Ruined this whole guy's day, this individual's day. Just ruined.
I feel
what
that.
A dick. He wouldn't even sign it. And I'm like, no crap, he wasn't going to sign it. I could have told you that. Logic says he can't sign it. This is not a meet and greet. This is you go up, hopefully you get a high five, and you go, I love you, Kyle. Or, boo, you suck, Kyle. And this individual wanted a full out autograph on like 3 different things. And I'm like, get out. Leave. Go cheer for somebody who doesn't have any fans. Maybe you'll get him to sign something.
I feel the rejection of my favorite race car driver as well. So I sympathized with that 15-year-old.
Yeah, Chase Elliott just walked right past her and was like, "Bye, Felicia."
I actually have Chase Elliott's autograph, so that's okay.
She stalked him to the bathroom too.
I did not.
She has an knack of doing that to people.
She does.
I actually met Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson on the same day and got their autographs and a picture with them.
In the urinals?
No. Mason, I'll send you the picture. You can actually put it on the screen.
This trip I can never surpass. Doesn't matter how great any other trip is. Becca will always say this is the best trip of her life. And it is absolutely annoying as heck.
I will say, like, I've only been to 2 NASCAR races, and I've gotten a handful of autographs at the race I went to in Las Vegas. The only one of my favorite drivers, although he's not climbing up that favorite list lately, I got Denny Hamlin's autograph in Vegas.
Oh.
I was hoping for McMurray's, but I never got a chance to see McMurray.
The race itself, Mason, though, I mean, jumping back to the pre-race deal, I thought having Diplo, right? Back up?
Yes, Diplo.
I thought that was a good way to engage with the newer, younger crowd and try to pull them in. And I'm sure that wasn't exactly his go-to type of like DJ music, but he did a nice job with the audience that he had. The race itself was a very... Becca can explain it. The only highlight I had was seeing Kevin Harvick take the... I didn't even get to see Kevin Harvick take the lead. I was dying in the bathroom.
So we took our seats and we sat in the sun which did not help Jessup's situation any. And he overheated and had to leave and find shade. And where he ended up finding shade, he ended up taking a nice long nap. And I was like, "Where are you? Do I need to come find you? Did you die?
No, I found a
Do you
spot.
need more toilet paper?"
It was not the bathroom, Mason.
No, I have a question though for Becca. Did you say you sat in the sun in Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as the race went on, and then the shade started to creep on over us. But
Becca's like, "Why did you leave?" I'm like, "Because I'm dying. I am about to be dead."
So I didn't really get a chance to watch much of the finale. I know I was kind of like just checking in like with like the live timing on my phone and stuff like that. But I'm sure the battle between Chastain and Blaney was interesting to watch.
I was hoping Chastain would have dumped him.
I
That
was
would have.
kind of actually hoping that same thing as well.
I get NASCAR's trying to get Blaney over the hump, but after hearing like the feedback of how he behaved and basically wanted Chastain to get out of the way so he could win, I'm sorry. After he, he basically rammed him on the backstretch. I think it would have been just humorous if the Watermelon Man put him into the wall and then said, "Well, I'm sorry, NASCAR. I believe, as the late Jason Johnson once said, hell, I wanted to win."
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, that reminds me. On the last episode before the finale, I predicted that the championship winner wouldn't even win the race.
Look at Mason
Yeah.
go.
That was like one of my
had
very few predictions I've gotten right this year.
Mason,
had
you
35
done
other
good.
cars to help him, but you go, Mason. Mason
well,
took the champion versus the field bet. He took the field.
well, other than those like few exciting battles up front, which were pretty few and far between, it wasn't the most exciting race. And I actually thought about my monologue for the podcast while I sat and watched the cars go by.
I saw this. She literally was typing it up. This race.
I was not. I was just thinking to myself what I would say.
A one
He
lane
was probably taking notes.
a one lane dusty, sealed over, 200 degrees scorched track. Dirt track race would be better than this.
You should. So you only went to the Cup race, I assume, right? You should have gone to the Xfinity race. I think that one was probably.
We couldn't. It
So,
would have been.
Or even a truck race would have been fun.
Yeah.
so wait a second though. So you guys sat in the sun, right?
Yep.
So I
At
do
the
have a
beginning,
question.
and then
Well, I still have a question. So even though you sat in the sun and it was 80, 88 degrees or something like that day, I'm out in the
Yes,
sun. So could you have a beanie on?
Becca did
No.
have a beanie on.
Okay, because it was
Yep.
beanie
No, I did
season
not.
during
Right.
that time probably too.
I actually wore shorts to the racetrack.
She did.
Oh,
They
she had to
said
be freezing by the end of this.
it said hot and
The shuttle
juicy.
ride. There's oh yeah, I grabbed the wrong pair of shorts. They were my mud volleyball shorts, and I wrote hot and juicy in the back, and so everyone got to see that.
Oh, that
Thankfully,
was
well,
wonderful
thankfully
at the
those-
racetrack. I'm sure that would left lasting impressions.
Becca's running around going,
Thankfully,
"White trash," and I'm in trouble.
Yep.
thankfully, it was mostly faded, so you really had to stare to see those words on my behind. But
Mason,
me,
we have a
um,
photo of this, by the way, too.
I figured if there was ever a place to wear such fashionable things, it'd be at a NASCAR race. So probably fit in just fine.
Hey, which driver did we get her photo with? William.
Josh Williams, who now got a ride with Colleague Racing.
Yeah. So they're like, "Would you like a picture with him?" I'm like, "Yes." And I looked at Becca. I'm like, "It's the guy who parked on the track at Atlanta." And I walked up, and Becca's on one side. And he goes, "Hi, how's it going?" I'm like, "I'm a big fan of yours. I loved what you did to stick it to NASCAR at Atlanta." And he's like, I'm like, "You won me over that day. Keep doing what you got to do." And he's like, Okay. I'm like, trust me, it's not your driving skill that I like.
No, just I wouldn't be surprised if he actually said that to him.
This is true.
It's
And
a
I
true
did.
story. I was there.
We got the bookend the 2023 NASCAR season, which was something I don't know if a lot of people have ever done, but to say you got to see the first and last race of the year and got to see a champion crowned and a Daytona 500 champion crowned and get to watch two NASCAR drivers retire, one being very influential and the other one had a bacon sponsorship with them. And yeah, it was a fun time. Besides pooping my brains out and then puking my brains out.
Well, every vacation has a little bit of a kind of a curveball that gets thrown your way. So I mean,
That was a big curveball. I
it's a
got hit by.
very big curveball. Well, that is a really cool opportunity to kind of get the bookends of the NASCAR Cup season. So awesome. Good deal. So big congrats out to Ryan Blaney for getting the Cup Series championship, his very first one. And hopefully that gets his career going more and more. I know he had a really strong end of the season, advancing through the playoffs. And so he got hot at the right time. So,
Yep.
So what you need to do in today's day and age.
Just win one race and get hot at the end. The rest of the season, you can finish 36.
Did he only win one race this year?
Yeah, he only won
Yes.
Talladega. He wouldn't have made it otherwise.
I think he qualified for the chase at the Coca-Cola 600.
Yes.
Correct. He won the Coke 600.
Oh, I thought he won
And
Talladega.
he made the next round at Talladega. He wouldn't have
Oh.
made it in on his own had he not won at Talladega.
I think that would
Technically,
be my.
that should be a caution on Jessup.
That should be.
It should be a caution.
But seeing that I was wounded and ill, you know what? Fine, I'll take the caution. You guys.
Oh, wow.
Here's the caution
Double
for
down
Jessup.
by swearing. You definitely get a caution.
So I
Oh,
was
no.
on Twitter the other
I'm-
day and
So hold on.
came across something super interesting. So some guy out there went and back through all of NASCAR history, right? And he applied today's playoff format
Oh,
to
yes, I've
all
seen
of
this too.
Oh, yep.
Yep.
and
This.
it's really interesting to look at. And this whoever shared it posts a lot of crap. Anyways,
And
the most
This is
interesting
going. Hold on.
the most interesting
Jessup,
point of this
I have
all
an area
is
here.
in 1967, Richard Petty, who won 27 races, he competed in today's format system, would not have won the championship
That's so
in
nuts.
1967 after
Yes.
winning 27 races throughout the course of the season.
Yes.
Sounds really very familiar to a situation that almost happened a few years back.
With Harvick.
Or Kyle
No, it was-
Larson.
And Denny
Tyler.
Hamlin would
Mhm.
still not have won a championship under this format.
Denny Hamlin
Fun
would
fact.
have
Darn.
won under the old format.
It's okay. NASCAR will format it next year to where he can win.
All I know is, thank goodness that we
Yes.
didn't have to talk about the manufacturers championship because Dale Jr. would not be happy, and
Would
we
agree.
have to worry about Dale Jr. happy.
So, excellent recap of the NASCAR finale, and glad you guys got to have a fun trip down to Phoenix. One thing I
love that. Ali recapped about my pooping series.
And
uh,
moving on now.
yeah,
Nathan, what about yours?
yeah.
I'm
So
ready.
I can't remember if it was the same weekend. I think it was the week after because I went down to the national banquet for WISSOTA. I got to sit in on the rules meeting on Friday. Honestly, not a whole lot of rule changes when I was there on Friday for like, mainly it's focused on like the car classes and all the little nuances there. And so I'm not totally a car expert, so I don't really understand a lot of the jargon. So it's kind of just interesting to hear the discussion, kind of hear about things that the owners are bringing up and what issues they have at their track versus at other tracks. And so I kind of took the Friday and Saturday to kind of connect with people. As you all know, I'm very involved with a few of the tours. And so getting a lot of inquiry about getting tour races in different areas and kind of having those conversations. And so just kind of develop relationships. And so I thought it was fun time at the banquet on Friday and Saturday. I got to see Kenny Wallace. He was the guest speaker there at the banquet. Very, very fun speech to listen to. I think he had talked for like 35, 40 minutes. So it was a good amount of time that we got to listen to Kenny Wallace, and had some really good stuff and really good stories to listen to. Mainly the one cool thing I wanted to highlight from the banquet, obviously they highlighted all the national champions and all the rookie of the years and all of them. And so big congrats out to everyone that was a national champion, top 10 in national points in their respective class. But Justin and Vogel, the street stocks, like the top 4 in the street stock points, all were racing for someone that had cancer in their lives. A lot of cancer awareness themed on their cars or in their race season in general. And Vogel was a champion in the street stocks. And on his roof was a tribute to Asha Gregory, who was one of his best friend's wife, who passed away, unfortunately, from breast cancer. And so they had cut off the roof of the car beforehand, and he presented that on stage to his friend in front of everyone. And so that was a very touching moment. I think that was a really cool gesture by Justin, and kind of just capping off his strong 2023 season. So big shout out to Justin Volkel and all the competitors who made that battle so much fun to watch at the national banquet. And so it was a good time. Yeah, enjoyed myself, got some good video, and looking forward to the 2024 season. Hopefully get some interesting stuff in the works heading in the off season. We'll see what happens. And so yeah, that's all I got from the national banquet. Did anyone get to watch any of the INEX Dirt Nationals that took place a week or so back?
Yeah, it was the demo derby.
Was it?
Yeah,
I saw a couple rollovers.
Really?
Happened down there. I mean, there were some bad ones.
It was either semi-pros or young lions. Which one was having it?
They had the young Lions was one of them.
let me
Kitzmiller was
tell
one of them that rolled.
It was a demo derby. I don't care what anyone else says. It was a demo derby, because every time I'd be watching it, I'd be like, and there's a caution, and everyone's piled in, and I'd log out, watch something else for a bit, and I'm like, oh, who won? And open it back up, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Evan got, I think he spun himself out at one point, and they had to go all the way to the back, and then another caution that took forever, come back. I'm like, oh, there's 5 laps left. And then come back, leave again, come back. And Evan managed to get up to second. And then somebody drove through somebody on the last lap. And that got Evan up to second. And that ended up being the last lap or whatever. And then all of a sudden the winner got disqualified. And I'm like, oh, and someone told me, no, Evan won. And I'm like, no, he did not. I literally watched the race. He got second. And then sure enough, look, Evan got second or first. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah. There was a lot of DQs in that race too. I don't know if it was because of driving or just in post-race tech, but
everybody cheats.
Well, you gotta play within the rules, and sometimes gotta work the gray areas, and they come back to bite you, unfortunately. But that's a great win for Evan Hendrickson. Great win for him. So he was the semi-pro winner for the Legends. Cody Mackart was also down there in semi-pros. He finished 12th, so good showing for Cody as well. Did Becca or John, did you watch any of the race at all? I have all results here just of the local drivers that were down there.
I
No,
would
I did
say
not.
Just a few clips.
from
Just a
what
few
I
clips, that's all.
our drivers went, they gave a great showing for themselves and the talent that we have around our area. And our hats should go off to our drivers who went and competed, and to our national champions that we have in our area. I don't think you see too many truly nationwide series such as the NX Legends or IMCA. I don't think you see too many coming from the same area racing against each other that often. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I'll highlight the national champions. I got those listed as well. So the drivers that went down to this race was taking place in North Carolina, so a very long distance away. And the Young Lions, Ty Olson, who finished 4th. So good run for Ty Olson. I think he's like 14 or 15 years old.
13.
13. So
Yeah.
very young driver. Very good run for him. We mentioned semi-pros with Evan Hendrickson and Cody Macart. Pro division had Preston Martin and the two Brosses. Preston finished 7th. Ryan in the 29 finished 8th, and Alex Brosseth finished 20th. And then in the Masters division, we had 4 from this area. David Soji, who finished 24th. Michael King finished 12th. Scotty Richardson in 2nd, and Glenn Mitchell was your winner in the Masters. So very well represented there as well. And then you get to the national champions, which is basically a clean sweep from this area. Glenn Mitchell in the Masters, Preston Martin in the pro division, Evan Hendrickson in the semi-pros, and Ty Olson in the young lions. So big congrats out to the NX Legend crew from up here. I think like you could put 20 to 30 of them up there each and every single week, and they could make a run for the national championship in their respective divisions. And so that's awesome to see. I know there's probably going to be a few more joining the crop going into 2024. And so I really hope one of these years we can get that dirt national race back up in the Midwest. Because I think I know there's a few that were going to try to go to North Carolina, but just things didn't quite work out. And I think like the Madlers, I think we're planning on going. I know Gus Jensen went with Preston Martin. So there's interest there. Hopefully we get that race up north, because I think we could get it more represented.
I just think it's interesting that NX is this. I don't know, maybe I can't say it's NX's fault, but I don't understand why they wouldn't want to strike while the iron's hot in our area. I mean, the overall car count numbers weren't, for a national championship type of event, they weren't ideal or very strong. So, and not to take anything away from our drivers, it just a good chunk of the field was our drivers. And why wouldn't NX want to showcase their product at the highest that it's going to be? Like highest car counts, you got some of the best drivers on questionably some of the better tracks that NX will race on. So if I was them, I'd be like, hey, here's an event. We're going to waive these fees so that we can make this event like be one for the record books, or one to go down in history as potentially the very best NX race.
One kind of the other thing I was thinking about that too, because it takes place so late in the year, like in November, it's tough for us to have that race in like November. So I was like, what if you did something like, for example, like let's say do it during like the weekend of the Super Nationals, like just because. What's that?
I know it's been raced in September and October. Yep. So I don't understand why we couldn't do it.
Oh, and especially when it's just focused on the NX Legends, you wouldn't have to worry about having basically any support class, because you're going to have plenty of cars there for sure. And plus, a lot of those drivers are so young that they're probably involved in other sports too in the fall months. And so I think that would overall help to get more and more cars there, more drivers there. That's just my personal opinion. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we get something up here. I know it probably takes a little bit of planning to get that all ironed out. And so yeah, any other racing or anything else that we took in the last couple of weeks before we kind of get into our white flag segment?
I watched Ethan Dotson eat the wall out of corner 2 at whatever the XR event was this past weekend. Just a brief clip that it was bad. He smoked it head on.
Yeah, I think there's been racing taking place in Las Vegas. Arizona's been racing too. I really didn't think about the racing in Arizona when I was down there. I was like, oh yeah, there's racing going on kind of nearby. But
you left when it started, Mason.
I was totally in like work mode. I was like, oh yeah, I totally spaced that out.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched too much else. I mean, besides a clip here and a clip there
we watched a little bit of the XR races at Duel in the Desert when we were at your friend's house the night you got food poisoning. So we got to watch Colin Hibden win the B mod race that night, and
Oh, was it you who took the photo?
No, John took it and shared it with our friend, our little private group.
That had to be one of the most telling and ironic photos ever. It was the sport mod winner being interviewed, and in the background you had one of the sport mods being towed off the track.
Yeah.
That race,
It
I
was a
think, had a
wild
lot of
race.
carnage. Yes.
It had a lot of carnage or contact.
But I do remember, so we didn't watch the whole night of the duel in the desert, but we did catch most of the features, and it was really cool to see a lot of our North Dakota guys either starting right up front or leading laps or running for battling for the win. So well represented for duel in the desert up here in the North Dakota area as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of drivers are kind of making plans to go down to Winter Nationals in January, I believe, is when that takes place. So it'll be fun to see all travels down there too.
Yep.
Well, to start to wrap things up, we'll give a shout out to our white flag segment sponsor, which is Isaac Hot Sauce Sandro. I hope he's finished up harvesting right now. I know he's having plenty of issues out in the field this year, but I want to thank Isaac so much for supporting us. If you ever see him at the racetrack or within the community, be sure to stop by and say hi to him. One of the nicest people. His family's really nice too. They have all sorts of goodies at the 12S trailer. He's already got a new car getting ready for the 2024 season. So it'll be exciting to see how he progresses in that. And so thank you so much, Isaac, for supporting us on the podcast as well. So I have a few little tidbits that I've been kind of keeping up on heading into the off season. What's that?
Who's going first? I got one.
Go ahead, Jessup.
Aha. I'm going to take an easy one. I love this driver. I'm a fan of this driver. So this is a more of a win that makes me happy, and I think it's a good and well-deserved win. But Mr. Donnie Schatz got inducted to the North Dakota Sports Hall of Fame this week.
Yes.
I think that's pretty badass, because whether we want to admit it or not, there's not a lot of racers in just purely sport-based Hall of Fames. I know another one that I know of would be Tom Nesbitt, but for Donnie to do it for North Dakota, I think that's pretty impressive, and it tells how big of an impact in the local scene and in the national scene that he's done, and how well he's represented our state. So that would be my win of the week.
Yeah,
this podcast.
That's a really good one. I didn't have any wins of the week necessarily, just because it's been kind of so helter-skelter. John, Rebecca, did you have anyone you wanted to give a shout out to?
I'll just kind of go through and congratulate our Legends champions that we had from INEX. From the INEX side, I just want to kind of note those as well, because you guys mentioned Preston Martin, Evan Hendrickson, Ty Olson, Glenn Mitchell. All those drivers were right in the mix this year, obviously, for the national championship side. And we had a bunch of guys and ladies that finished in the top 10 from our local area. So, yeah, so INEX Legend Racing, like you guys mentioned, is really strong up here in the North Dakota and surrounding areas. And it's nice to see that we have a good, healthy group of drivers that are also national champions.
You know, and to kind of pivot off of that too, kind of was announced in the last week or so that got a new tour for the Legends coming in 2024 between a few of the tracks out in the west and the central part of the state. So that's going to be really exciting to see how that's going to turn out. And stay tuned. Check out, it's the Legendary Tour on Facebook.
Yes. Yep, correct.
And I believe the 4 tracks involved are Dakota Speedway, Jamestown, Southwest, and Underwood.
Correct. I believe those are the 4 tracks that they're looking at.
So that's going to be awesome to kind of see how that pans out for 2024. Becca, did you have any wins of the week or any tidbits that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so Colin Hibden was one of the many winners down at Duel in the Desert. He won in a beam mod, and I believe it was someone else's car as well. So it wasn't even his own. Just hopped in it and went out there, and he bested Brady Biella, who finished second. So one of our drivers who did really well down at Duel in the Desert. But the night that we watched, it was the night before the NASCAR race. A lot of our North Dakota drivers did really well that night. And then Tim Ward won down at Central Arizona Raceway this past weekend. Another driver that most people will know, Jeff Taylor, also picked up a win in the modifieds that I saw, and Cole Sharneski, a driver that made quite an impact here in the North Dakota area this past Dakota Classic Modified Tour. He made a lot of fans up here. He also picked up a few wins in the IMCA Stock Cars. So a few familiar names. There were some North Dakota drivers down there as well. Sean Strand drove one of Jeff Taylor's race cars down there. He did pretty well. He had some bad luck, but overall kept the car in one piece and did pretty well. But yeah, some North Dakota drivers did go down there, but some names that most fans, area people should know. So congratulations to those guys.
Oh yeah, there's going to be plenty of travelers heading down south throughout the rest of the winter months, and so be sure to check out the various streaming platforms. I know XR's got a few. Obviously, IMC TV is going to have a bunch, and I believe Wild West Shootout is going to be taking place once the new year happens, and so going to be plenty of local drivers to kind of cheer on and keep an eye on. And so, one thing that got announced within the last couple of weeks was the late model schedule for the World of Outlaws, and they have an interesting swing up north. We have a 3-day swing now, starting at I-94 on a Thursday, River Cities on Friday, and Norman County on a Saturday. So I am very intrigued to see how that will go as well. That's a really big grab for Norman County Raceway, especially. Definitely was not something I expected to see on their schedule for 2024. So who knows how that's gonna pan out. Jessup looks really deep in thought. I know he's got some thoughts on that.
He's also looking awfully tired, so there's that.
Yes.
No,
They both coincide with each other usually.
I think very deep in thought here, and I think John's probably having some of the same thoughts I'm having on this. But congratulations to Norman County. That would be a fun race to go over. I don't have an idea of how they're going to have enough seating and grandstand seating, but it is definitely a race that is going to be finding its way to my schedule this upcoming year. So it should be a fun time.
I think that's the end of
has more free time.
June, correct? Like the end of June is when that's going to happen?
8th.
Yeah, I want to say end of June, because it's usually when the World of Outlaws comes up north. I'm going to check.
Yeah, I think it's June, like what, June 28th through like June 30th or something like that, I think.
What a weird swing of tracks if you just look at the actual makeup of the tracks. You go from that big 3/8 inside 3/8 at for I-94 over to the tight little bull ring at River Cities. That's just legendarily known for the high banking and the speeds. And then you go over to Norman County, which does not resemble either of those two. So it's 3 different formats, 3 different setups. They're definitely going to have the World of Outlaw guys on their toes.
Yeah, so that's going to be
going
to be really interesting to watch.
Hey, speaking of World of Outlaws, did you see allegedly, we throw allegedly out, Ricky Thornton might be making a switch over from Lucas Oil to World of Outlaws.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I wonder if it has to do with the old playoff point system.
The NASCAR format.
Wait, what? The format causing controversy? No.
Or the
you mean the best
format.
driver all season who won the most races and just whooped the series didn't win the championship?
Just ask Kevin Harvick how he feels about it.
Oh gosh, I love as soon as Kevin Harvick basically retired, he pretty much just laid it all out.
Threw it right under the bus, and I was like, "Yes, thank you."
Yep.
Can't wait to see him in the announcers booth next year.
That should be a fun.
Thankfully, he's on Fox.
It should be a fun weekend, and I'm really excited to see what the next month brings for the World of Outlaw guys, because I don't know how many people actually follow like the Wild West Shootout closely, but if you watch or if you go back the last couple of years, you'll see basically, I would say about 60 to 70% of either the Lucas Oil drivers will all go out to it, and almost none of the World of Outlaw guys would go. And then the following year it'd be like 60 or 70% of the World of Outlaw guys would be there, and then none of the Lucas guys would be there. So Wild West at Vado is going to be pretty interesting to see. But we still got a big race coming up here in a couple weeks, Mason.
Oh,
We
yes, the Dome.
the Dome, and I think I might be wrong, but Alltech's got a couple races coming up. So if you're a late model fan, you still got some time and a couple big races, and it should be exciting. I'm excited to see what happens at the Dome.
Yeah, we have a few more few more people coming in from up north down there, both I believe both late models and modifies, and so we'll kind of touch on that in one of our next episodes. And you were right, it is the end of June that swing for the World of Outlaws is coming up north, so June 27th through the 29th.
Yep.
So yeah, in closing, appreciate all the feedback on the power rankings. They've been really popular and really stirring a buzz, and so we still have a few classes to cover, mainly the IMCA classes in the state of North Dakota, so be on the lookout for those coming in one of our next episodes. Kind of just catching up after a few weeks off, and already been seeing some drivers getting their cars ready for next year, like putting new bodies on, getting a head start while they got some decent weather before it gets too chilly to work on the cars. And so kudos to you all that have gotten a head start on the 2024 build. Any other closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Huset's posted their 2024 schedule today.
They did. Yep. They had a lot of big races on their schedule.
A lot of big money. Does not appear that the High Limit series will be back this year yet, or it hasn't been announced. A lot of World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series races will be there, so that should be pretty fun. That's about all I know.
Yep. I'm waiting for, I don't think the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars has released their schedule yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
I'm really looking for that one because I always like to get to one World of Outlaw Sprint Car race
Yep.
each year.
And I don't
We
think Lucas Oil has done their schedule yet either. I haven't seen theirs yet either. I know, what is it PRI that's going to be happening here in about 2 weeks? I think it's always the
Uh,
first week of December,
Yeah.
and that they usually get announced right around that time frame.
Well, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the high limits,
That too.
because like everyone's all excited and they're all like, Kyle and Brad are going to save sprint car racing. Meanwhile, nobody really is well, it's starting to get talked about it, but the first thing I thought about was like, oh, that's cool that they bought it. So is it going to be a national series, or are they going to just implode a very strong regional series? And what happens to that region when that series basically is taken away from it? So it's gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen with the Ohio area for sprint car racing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brad.
It was a sweet move, if you ask me.
No, it was
Oh, I see what you did there.
much like Sweets, Mason. It may just come back to be a bit of a cavity and not such a sweet deal after all.
Wow, that was
That
such a reach. It's unbelievable.
That was better than yours, Mason, honestly.
Oh my, what?
Yeah, let's go.
Unbelievable.
Well, this week is Thanksgiving, and I think we should all be thankful to all of our viewers who watch our podcast, whether it's via Facebook or YouTube, or listen to us on all the different streaming platforms. Thank you to everyone who tunes in, supports us, and gives us comments, feedback, all the good things, whether it's good things, bad things, anything in between. Thank you all for supporting us in our second season of the Track Packers podcast. We are so thankful to everyone who supports us. So thank you to everyone.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a great way, great message too. I almost forgot to talk about what we're thankful for, but Becca pretty much summed it up. Just thankful for all
You
the
did.
relationships kind of created through the racing community, especially. I consider a lot of them some of my best friends. Of course, you three are three of my best friends and met you through racing. So very, very thankful for being part of the racing community as well. Well, okay, I apologize.
Yeah, back up, Mason.
I apologize.
Hold
I'm sorry, John. I'm so sorry.
I would agree. That is a caution flag moment on Mason.
Leave it to John to make me feel guilty. Do you know, actually, I had a thought today. You know how John has a nickname,
That
Mr.
explains why there's some extra, stimulation within your hair.
Right. I had to do it
What?
before this podcast. Yeah, I had to prepare my
You have
hair
to do
for the
your hair.
podcast.
You're wearing a hat.
Exactly.
He said he had to do his hair though.
Yeah.
It was all that thinking he was doing. It was starting to get frizzy.
But you know how John has the nickname Mr. Miserable and how he kind of makes my life miserable on this podcast sometimes? I think that's part of the reason why he has that nickname.
I
That
try
was
to
your
make it easier
aha
for you,
moment.
Mason.
That was my aha moment of the day while you are truly Mr. Miserable.
Well, you were really deep in thought then.
I was.
I try to make your life easier, but for you by red flagging all the moments that John ruins our podcast. Not
Yes,
ruins. He
it's-
makes it extra difficult for Mason for editing.
It's definitely me that causes the most controversy of the podcast.
All the
would be-
things that fans will never see
This is
or
debatable.
hear.
This is actually
Oh yeah,
It's
I
usually
suppose the
Becca.
blooper sees it.
It's usually Becca.
not controversial podcast.
I suppose the blooper reel is coming out soon. And it's almost a holiday.
Oh yeah, that should be coming out pretty quick, shouldn't it, Mason? For the next it usually comes out in December timeframe.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to whittle it down from like 52 minutes down to like 6.
Well, we could
Well, we
have
could have
different.
multiple.
We could do the 12 days of Christmas. 12
Ooh.
different blooper reels.
Ooh, that would be
I don't know
actually
if I
good.
could
We
take
could
all
do
that
that.
embarrassment. Oh my
Hey,
god.
If he's got like 52 minutes of this, okay, and we could divide that by 12.
Just
Each
a
of
little
them
over
would be
4
a
minutes
little
each.
bit, over 4 minutes. That would be perfect.
But I don't know if I could take all that embarrassment. Oh
Oh, don't worry. It'll be spread around pretty evenly.
my god. Oh gosh. Good.
But with that, I think that is a great way to wrap up episode number 35 for season 2 of the Track Packers podcast. As always, be sure to like, share, comment on our videos on our Facebook and YouTube channels. Be sure to give that a like and follow as well. Spotify, Google, and Apple is where you can find us on the listening platforms and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you to our sponsors, Hitch Harness and Isaac Hot Sauce Sandro. Thanksgiving is coming up, so hopefully you have a nice holiday weekend. We will see you afterwards and hopefully pack in the track.